Hi, welcome to Scriptures Unveiled. Today we're talking about the tree of the knowledge of good and evil.
Yeah.
Yes, so we're going to explore this tree. So in the history, Natasha, there's two trees seen in Genesis 2:9. And it's the tree of life, which we know now today it reveals Jesus. And then there's the tree of the knowledge of good and evil.
Yeah, there were two trees.
Two trees. And so in the garden, they were in the Garden of Eden, and it's explained as being in the east. And in the Hebrew, east is to be in front or to come to meet. And Eden means to delight or have pleasure. And so this picture is God's delight with man and man's delight with him.
Yeah.
It's this interchange with the creator and the creation, because Adam was the creation, and as one mind and one heart. And so we see that picture when they spoke about them walking in the cool of the night, and where Adam walked face to face with God.
Yeah.
And so, but God, warned Adam not to eat from this tree of the knowledge of good and evil. He said that in that day he would die. There'd be death.
It is.
So, and what the death was a spiritual death to the oneness that he had with God.
Yeah.
That instead of being one with God, he'd be more one with, joined to creation without God.
Yeah, you're so right. It does. It reads that from the tree of knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat, for in the day that you eat from it, you shall surely die.
Yeah, that's Genesis 2:17.
Yes. And I had to ask myself, well, what is the tree of the knowledge of good and evil? Like really, what is it? Because there were two trees there. We know the tree of life, like you said, was Jesus. And so when I actually looked up that word knowledge, where it was the tree of knowledge of good and evil, this is a different type of knowledge in the Hebrew that you and I are used to, where we're used to knowledge being intimacy and union with God. But actually, when I looked that knowledge up in Hebrew, it actually meant cunning. And it meant more of a type of head knowledge or self-reliant knowledge. And actually in Hebrew they referred to it as ignorant. No, it was funny.
And what's that word?
Exactly. That word in our English terminology is ignorant. This is a knowledge that's more self-reliance. It's like a lower type of thinking, because we were created, like you said, in God's image, one with the Lord. But when we see the knowledge of tree of good and evil, we're actually viewing ourselves and the world from the perspective of good and evil, from a place of ignorance, from a lower place. It also means that word die, like you were saying, where he said, if you eat, you will surely die. That word die in Hebrew also means to destroy, or to destroy one's worth. So it's sort of like the worth went down. And you can see too that with them dying, that word death, that it put an end to that Adam walking in the day, cool of the day, where they were just one with the Lord. They just put an end to those times.
So it was the cool of the day, not the cool of the night?
Yeah. It's okay.
Oh, that's all right.
But guess what? It's funny you should say that, because now it's the cool of the night.
Cool of the night.
They went from straight day to night. Yes, it did. That's exactly what it did. And that death was because they're judging life from their own perspective. They become their own judge. Like that's what happened. They started to judge themselves, judge others through the lenses of ignorance, of knowledge of good and evil. And when they became their own judge, that fear entered in, the self-reliance, the independence from God, the comparison with one another, with man. And also what entered in is they started to identify themselves through the eyes of creation versus the creator.
Yeah, that's huge.
It is. They became reliant on the creation.
Yeah, and no longer
to see themselves,
creator.
and no longer the creator, which was God. So you see that transition, and you also see that transition in Genesis 3, 7.
Yeah. Well, let me read 3:7. So this says, then the eyes of both of them were opened, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves loin coverings.
Yeah. You see, all of a sudden, there's, and look, this is the transition, right? Because like what you said in the beginning, it said that, God had placed them in a garden in the east.
Yes.
And if you look up that word garden in Hebrew, that word means hedge, to be hedged around, protection, covering. So literally God was saying, I'm placing you within myself where I'm the protector, I'm the covering. Like there's no worries, no shame. But instantly when they ate from the knowledge of good and evil, that judgment came, the fear came. What are they doing? They're clothing themselves with creation because they're relying on creation rather than being clothed by the Creator.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah, because that shame and everything entered in.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so that reminds me, or brings me to a scripture too. It's in Genesis 3:17, after Adam had fallen, and Adam and Eve, and then God was revealing the consequence that came with it. And 17 says, then to Adam he said, and that's God, because you have listened to the voice of your wife and have eaten from the tree about which I commanded you, saying you shall not eat from it. So the picture we see here is that Adam, he erred. It was revealed here when he listened to the creation, which was his wife. Because Eve, the wife, was the creation, because she came out of Adam. And so she's a picture of that creation. Even though Adam was also creation, he, though, was the head man.
Yeah.
So he was still a picture of the one that was under the authority. That's why when he fell, everybody fell.
Yeah.
So it wasn't when Eve ate from the fruit, it was when Adam ate from it that their eyes were opened.
Yeah.
So Adam obeyed the voice of Eve, because listened and obeyed is the same word in Hebrew. So it's the exact same word. So he listened to the creation and he did not listen to now the Creator. So
the eyes were open.
So therefore he became disconnected with God and connected with creation.
Yeah, that's good.
And so this was really the fall. So what we're going to do, because there's a lot here, is we're going to just continue next time and have another part on the tree of the knowledge of good and evil.
Thank you. Please be sure to like and subscribe.